Let's do that song for people. How's it going, guys? It's your boy DeMoney here. Today we're gonna be watching Why Do Superheroes Wear Capes by Talkbout. Now, we watched a Talkbout video the other day, but I thought it would be a good transition to a Superman, because you know, if you've been on TikTok, you know that one Drake song, "Hey, it took me from Spider-Man," so you know, some shit. So you know, I thought after a Spider-Man video, I gave y'all Superman on some shit. And not to spoil the next video, but the next video is gonna be Batman. So you know what I'm saying? Word. Let's get straight into it. Hold on. Before the video starts, y'all already know, you know, the video gonna be linked down below if you wanna watch it yourself. And the channel is gonna be linked down below if y'all wanna go watch some of his content himself. He makes some great informing content. So if you wanna tune into his videos, go ahead. Because yeah, you probably like my reaction, but you probably wanna watch the video without my reaction, without me talking. So if you want to, go ahead. Without further ado, let's get straight into it.
And it's a no on the cape.
I think it's cool.
Take that off. It's disrespectful.
Capes are cool. Sometimes.
Yeah.
It's really hard to imagine Superman or Batman without a cape. However,
Right.
it sounds insane to want Spider-Man or Flash to wear one.
Right.
So I went and found out why, and weirdly enough, it has nothing to do
Holy
with...
shit. What the hell? I think this is the first time I ever saw his face. What? You're a ginger, Talkbout? Oh my god. What?
mobility. Why do superheroes wear capes in the first place? Is it fashion, function, or something else? And how are capes the most iconic yet complex piece of clothing in all of superhero media? Well, to find out, we first have to look into the origin of superheroes.
Right.
Not Krypton, not Gotham, but a circus in the 1930s. Apart from being a place full of joy for the whole family, circuses in the 1930s were still a big part of entertainment offerings next to bars, music, and film. One of the most recognizable attractions from circuses were the so-called freak shows that displayed people with unusual physical traits, rare diseases, or the closest thing there was to real-life superpowers, wearing bright, colorful, and extravagant outfits to stand out. Wait, stop right there. Doesn't this one look familiar? No? Okay, but then what if I...
Oh.
In 1938, artist and co-creator of...
Wow. So they literally took that nigga's whole flow. That's crazy. They literally took that whole man's suit and said, fuck it, we making a comic, call that man Superman. Like, what?
Superman Joe Shuster took huge inspiration from wrestlers, pulp fiction, and circus performers, especially strongmen, to create the design for Superman. A huge, super strong dude wearing a colorful outfit with underwear on the outside, and of course, a long red cape. But why?
Yeah, wow.
I mean, yeah, there are cool references, but I don't see Batman's cape being influenced by strongmen, and this doesn't really
You can't lie, though. That's just aura, though. The way his cape blows in the wind while he just stands there, that's low-key aura.
But why? I mean, yeah, there are cool references, but I don't see Batman's cape being influenced by strongmen, and this doesn't really explain why there are hundreds of other heroes that have them while others just don't. Which is why the circus performers were only the tip of the cape's iceberg, and there's actually 3 increasingly deep reasons for capes to exist and be as important as they are today, beginning with form. Drawing is hard. For some, that is. Between the 1940s and 50s, amidst the Great Depression, newspapers and comic book publishers were forcing artists to produce good and cheap products fast, which led them to come up with a creative solution in the shape of a flat colored sheet of fabric that fixed two huge problems when it came to drawing characters, especially the flying ones, that is. Just like cartoons being drawn with 4 instead of 5 fingers to make hands easier to draw, and Hulk turning green because the printer wouldn't spit out the original gray, capes were drawn so that the superhero was quickly recognizable thanks to the bright colors they're usually drawn with, and so that flying heroes would be easier to draw.
And then Jerry suggested putting on a cape. A cape.
What the fuck? They made Superman bald? Why his hairline back there? What the hell?
When the character zooms through the air, would give more action and movement to the
look
character.
like he's really flying.
Okay, that sounds cool and all, but how is adding something to the design gonna make it easier to draw? Well, that's because you're not seeing the full picture. You. Anyway, check this out. If I were to show you this sketch, you could easily understand that the character is flying, right? However, you wouldn't know where to. It lacks direction. It is only when I add the cape that you start getting that feeling of direction and even speed. Or look at this other example, an action pose that with the addition of the cape can turn into a hover, a dodge, or a dry stop. Pretty cool, right? Even to this day, artists are happy to be able to play around and experiment with the cape, as if used correctly, it can become a character in itself. Literally.
Stop.
But then, what about the flying heroes without capes, and the non-flying heroes with them? What's the reason there? Well, the crazy thing is that capes are used for a lot more than making flying cool, including fixing design, story, hierarchy, or even my problems. Okay, maybe not, but I think subscribing might help. I hope it does. Thanks.
Subscribe.
Despite people thinking capes are useless and are there just to look cool, because they do, the truth is that there's actually 4 types of characters who use them for a very particular task each. Some were justified, some not so much.
No capes!
However, this will help us understand why characters that have one look cool, while those who don't would most likely look ridiculous wearing one. First, there's capes on flying heroes that make for around 90% of cape wearers. We already know that this used to be more of a drawing technique to make flying look better. However, as time went on, artists began to run into another problem. Most flying heroes, especially from DC, became dependent on the capes simply because of how convenient it was. So to avoid being compared or confused with Superman, artists decided to come up with some rather creative solutions. Yes, that is Green Lantern. No, it's not AI. Some change.
Yeah, ugly ass design. He barely got green in his suit. What the fuck? That's not Green Lantern, bruh.
Avoid being compared or confused with Superman, artists decided to come up with some rather creative solutions. Yes, that is Green Lantern.
That's Robin with Green Lantern's light bulb on his shit. Like, you ain't fooling me. That's Robin, bruh. Like, what the fuck?
Lantern. No, it's not AI. Some changed the color, some changed the length, and some added outlines, all in hopes of creating a unique and iconic design for the flying character. Of course, there's others that said screw it and ditched the cape entirely, either because the story presents a more realistic approach, as it's the case with Chronicle, or for poetic reasons, like Icarus not really fitting the superhero archetype, or Mark wanting to differentiate himself from his father. And although these examples work just fine, you can't deny that capes for flying heroes just make sense. But you know what makes more sense? Actually using the cape.
No,
not wearing, using. Batman is probably the best example of what using a cape really means. Just like the rest of characters of this section, Batman is all about giving actual functionality to the big cloth, whether by making it bulletproof, fireproof, using it to glide, hide, scare, or anything else considered useful. Other characters like Moon Knight, Spawn, Miguel O'Hara, or especially Cloak also fit in this category. Not because they all have a dark and scary vibe, but because more than a design choice, their capes are another tool they have at their disposal. Wait, wasn't that strange? Oh, I don't mean weird, I mean like the Stephen,
like
Doctor Strange. Capes are also famously seen in characters with magical abilities like Doctor Strange or the Scarlet Witch, and the story behind why that is goes even further than the existence.
She looks so fucking good. She's so bad. Shout out Zeph. If you know, you know.
Of capes themselves. So allow me to give you a quick 30-second history lesson that has more to do with fiction than with history. Don't worry, I'll make it fun. Long before Disney popularized the stereotypical look of wizards with the top hat and the long robe in 1940, characters like Merlin the Magician, or Enchanter, or Wizard, he went by many names, were already being described as old men wearing large robes and hats as far back as the 12th century. Right. This gave them a sense of power and mystery that later would make its way into superhero media in the shape of cloaks and capes, because fighting in robes is just as hard as you'd think. How did I do? Today, these magical characters are your witches, wizards, sorcerers, magicians, illusionists, and other beings whose powers are deemed as magical. And if you've been paying attention, you'd realize that these characters also tend to be smarter and a lot more powerful than your average super soldier.
Right.
And the reason for that goes all the way back to medieval times.
Really?
With documented uses as early as the 6th century, capes were once the ultimate symbol of status and power. But it wasn't just wearing any cape, since the mix of using high-quality wool and or silk, the famously rare and expensive color purple, and adding various small details would all signify the social rank of whoever was wearing it, or in our case, the power level. Doctor Doom, Magneto, Hela, Mephisto, Thor, and of course Black Panther all fall into this category either because of raw power, social power, or both of course. Although there is a subcategory that I think is kind of funny, because if we follow the idea of wearing a cape to show their power, we find that some characters use it purely for flair, just to show that, well, they can. Because God forbid a man looks cool wearing a cape. But okay, this was a complex formula based on historical facts and decades worth of examples. However, what if I told you that
I'm not gonna lie. Like, he got good background music, I'm not gonna lie. Like, it gets me more invested into the video. Like, my fault if you see me like bopping my head, you know, dancing a little bit in the background, but I can't even lie. This background music bumping in my ear, especially because that I got my headphones in. Oh my God, my fault. Let's get back into it.
Thinking of what I've said today is truly the reason as to why capes still exist to this day, and the real and most important reason has been in front of us for as long as we can remember. Don't believe me? Okay, then prove me wrong. This is a drawing of a superhero. Right. You don't need a mask or big muscles or anything to know that that steak man had superpowers. And that's the magic of it. Ever since Superman wore that cape back in 1938, society decided that superheroes would forever be linked with capes. I mean, I can't be the only one who used to wear capes as a kid to feel like a superhero.
Nah, yeah, I'm not gonna lie, like, just to have a little fun and imagination, used to tie your sheet around your neck and just go like this around the house. She used to be fun, I'm not gonna lie. Like, bro, kids don't have imagination no more. Like, oh my God, like, you don't just see a kid casually just fake playing with their sheets like they Superman or some shit. Like, unless we talking about Halloween, then, you know, whatever though.
Not gonna lie, wearing this right now feels cool as hell. Are you done? Okay, cause I'm sweating my ass. Just like red means stop and green means go, capes mean superhero. And the true reason why is that it just feels right. Regardless of the weight, the size, and the inconvenience of running, driving, fighting, or doing anything else than standing still, it just feels right to have the flying hero wearing a cape. It feels right to have the powerful villain wearing a cape. And it feels right to see this Halloween costume and say, yeah, that's a superhero, alright? So next time you wonder why superheroes wear capes, you could be that guy and talk about the circus, or you could be the cool guy and answer what I believe is the best and only answer. Because they're cool as fuck. Now go find out what would happen if you bonded with Venom, maybe subscribe, and as always, thanks for watching.
Hope y'all enjoyed this one. Like, wow, it's literally cool as shit as a superhero or a supervillain to have a cape, you know? There's not really, like, there's really no reason to question why a superhero wear a cape, really. But I hope y'all enjoyed this one. Like and subscribe if you haven't. Turn your post notifications on to be notified when I upload. To join the D-Money Gang, and I'll see you guys later. Peace. Show me all your love.